Call to order for the Watertown City Council meeting for February 20th of 2024. Please rise. Jody, lead us in prayer. Prairie Lakes Chaplain, sorry.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for all those that are in attendance tonight and all those that are presiding over this council meeting. May you please be with the items that are brought forward and the decisions that are made to be the best for the city of Watertown and those communities that we serve. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Finance Officer Bob Zine, please call the roll.
Okay. Pauline?
Here.
Jurens?
Here.
Peters?
Here.
Shetty?
Here.
Tupper?
Here.
Bueller? Danforth?
Here.
Thank you.
Quorum is established. Chair will entertain a motion to approve today's agenda with two quick changes. I just want to list, we've got a presentation from Kelly Rumpsa. What's your official title, Kelly? We'll go with that. So we have a presentation from Kelly at the beginning of the meeting under which will be right after the consent agenda under presentations and reports. And then I will move item 10C, which is the sidewalk discussion. Oh, actually, I'm going to switch 11 and 10 so that 11A, the sidewalk discussion, takes place before the ordinance first readings. So we're going to move that up a little bit for the sake of the people who are here. With that, the chair will entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda. Motion made by Councilman Peters, seconded by Councilman Shetty. All those in favor of approving the agenda, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. We're on to presentation and reports. Kelly, please take it away.
There we go. There we go. So I introduce myself. I'm Kelly Rumpsa. I work at the Human Service Agency. I'm a certified prevention specialist and has been doing prevention in our community for the past 25 years. Tonight, I am going to share information from our youth in the Watertown community in grades 7 through 12. We had an opportunity for our students to participate in what we call the Pride Surveys, which we take every other year, and it looks at our students' attitudes, perceptions, and behaviors in regards to substance use and other high-risk behaviors, and how that is relatable to the things going on in our community as well. Again, this is our students' perceptions, and then we take a look at what's going on in our community to see, you know, if what the students are telling us is going along with what we're also seeing in the community, and what efforts do we need to be doing to continue to provide a safe and healthy environment for our youth. So with that, with the efforts that we do, along with collaboration with a lot of local organizations in our community, I oversee our Watertown Healthy Youth Tobacco Free Coalition, as well as Glacial Lake Safe, which is suicide awareness for everyone. I also oversee our Project Success program at our middle and high schools. So at the Pride Survey, why do we conduct this survey? We need to see where our students are at in ways that we can communicate with them and to understand what are the current issues and trends impacting maybe their decisions and choices that they are going through. And so what the Pride Survey does is provide data-driven information that gives us a snapshot in our students' attitudes and behaviors. So in this past fall, October, we surveyed over 1,400 students in grades 7 through 12. So I'm going to be going through this information quite quickly. I will send this information out afterwards, but I'm also glad that we do have an audience, whether they wanted to listen to this information or not. But it does impact whether you have grandchildren, children, your neighbors. We really see that the youth are our future, and so we need to know what is going on in our community that's impacting our youth decisions, but also the role that we play as community members and adults in the community as well. Our primary focus is looking at substance use with our youth. And so what this slide is showing is 30-day use with alcohol, vape products, and marijuana. Those are the primary substances that we're seeing with use among our students. We also look at other substances, but those percentages remain fairly low, but it's things that we still track. As you can see, I broke it down so we can look at middle school, which is grades 7 and 8, high school, which is grades 9 through 12, and then we look at across ages, grades 7 through 12. And I'm going to highlight a few different things, what the graphs are telling us. Again, this is to help us to look at, is what we're doing impactful, and is this the shift that we want to be seeing, and what might be influencing some of these behaviors that we're seeing with our youth. And overall, the majority of our youth are not using substances, regardless of maybe what we hear or what we see, but we do have areas of concern that we need to be looking at and addressing before they become a bigger issue. And so the trends that we're currently seeing is with high school, we've definitely seen a dramatic decrease in substance use. Our areas of concern that we're looking at is our younger population. We're seeing that slight increase in use, whether they have access to it, whether socially or through the community. But we're knowing that kids can have access to a lot of different things at a younger age than they have before. So that changes our efforts in what we're doing to address that. So along with our adolescents reporting information, we also rely on community information as well. And so the police department partners with us, and they provide trend data for us to look at. So we're looking at, this is what the students are telling us, and then we look at what's going on in our community in regards to arrests and violations. And so with this information, this is looking at juvenile arrests on top and adult arrests on the bottom, and this is primarily looking at substance use again. So it's consuming alcohol, it's possession of marijuana, possession of drug paraphernalia, tobacco, and then ingesting toxic substances. And the lines that I wanted to highlight is one in regards to tobacco. We've seen a decline with that, and that's primarily with vapor products that we're seeing in the community. We've been really putting a lot of effort and focus on that over the last few years, and feel that with the awareness, the education, and things that we've been implementing, along with the collaboration with other helping resources like law enforcement, the Boys and Girls Club, the school district, parents, that we've seen that decline. And we know that the efforts that we have been doing have been making an impact, because we know those numbers could be higher. And so we look at that as a positive, but it's still an area of concern. The purple line is consuming alcohol for both juveniles and adults. And with that, we're seeing an incline in both areas. And generally what we see is we see patterns of use. So if we see rates going up with our adult population, typically we're going to see that same pattern with our youth. And so we can see that with consuming alcohol, we're going on that upward tick. And so then when we look at that shift where we're starting to see our younger youth reporting more use, we're seeing arrests increase, we're looking at what's going on in the community that might be influencing some of those factors. And so we look at access as one. Is it more accessible? Is it socially acceptable? Do they have access to it by our retail? What is that social norming of it? And we have seen some shifts with that. We've seen more flavors, more seltzers, more different things like that that make it appealing to that younger population as well as the adult population. We also have seen an increase in access in regards to having alcohol available now in our convenience stores, grocery stores, things like that. So they're seeing maybe it's more available in their refrigerator at home, or it's a quick buy with family or whoever that they have it when they're picking up groceries. So there might be that education of, is it okay to use, but not realizing maybe the impact of it with our youth and being under the age of 21. So along with that, we look at driving while intoxicated. which we just have that with the adult population on the graph, where we are seeing an increase with that. But also with our juvenile data, we have also seen an increase with students driving under the influence, both with alcohol and cannabis products. And so that helps us to look at that we need to be doing more education in regards to impairment. What does that mean? Talking about what the laws are, what the consequences are, so that they understand the severity of use. And what this graph shows just overall arrests, and it's just showing that line of what are we seeing? You know, are we seeing an increase with adult arrests? Are we seeing an increase in juvenile arrests? And is that reflective of the behaviors that we're seeing? And definitely seeing an increase in both. There's been maybe a little more dramatic with the adult arrests, but we're seeing a little increase with juveniles. But that also looks at enforcement as to identifying and being more accessible, that we are providing a more safer community for our youth. We're enforcing more laws, holding them accountable, and hopefully keeping them safer. So what influences use rates and behaviors? I've kind of talked through this already, but I just wanted to highlight a few things that we look at with our survey information. One is looking at the student's perception of risk. If they think it's going to be hurtful or harmful to them, they're less likely to use. So then we need to look at what is that messaging that we're relaying to our students. Are we sending that message? Are we role modeling that? What is their perception of that? If there's not a consequence, are they going to continue to use? Perception of parental disapproval. What messaging or role modeling is taking place at home? Is it acceptable? Is it not acceptable? Nationwide, we've seen a shift in parental attitudes where parents or adults are being less strict or maybe not understanding the severity of use with youth. And like I want to point out, our focus is we're looking at youth and young adults and the behaviors that they're taking place. So it might be legal for adult population to use, but that doesn't make it okay for our youth. And so having that conversation and looking at that, those use rates and understanding what can these substances do to our youth. And does this deter their access or use? Perception of friends' disapproval. This is looking at, do their friends approve or disapprove of them using, and does that influence their decision to use? So if their friends are not doing it, are they doing it? Are they being influential? So friends can be that positive or that negative influence, and so we're trying to highlight and identify that positive friends' influence. And then again, the availability and resources. We kind of see where it becomes a little more accessible as students get older. And again, I've mentioned we look at what are the shifts or changes that we've seen in the community, in society, in regards of having it available. Are we seeing it at events that are geared towards families, or what is that messaging? What is that education going on? Are we having that responsible use conversation, things like that? Because we need to know what's going on in the community for us to be able to address it. It's not that we're taking things away or trying to say banning things or things like that. When people hear prevention, they're like, oh, they're the fun suckers taking away all that fun stuff. But really our choice or our decisions are helping us to be healthier, for us to be safer, and that's what we want our kids to be reflective of. And then looking at the gender. Are there differences between our males and females? And what we're seeing is that even trend, where even females might be utilizing substances more than our male population with our youth. And that is also concerning as well, and looking at what's in those factors of that. Again, this is going back to that 30-day use and kind of summarizing this information that I just shared on the previous slide. This is looking at it in graph form, looking at that perception of risk. And I want to highlight e-cigarettes and vapes, and then I'll kind of show alcohol there. But over the last few years, we have seen the trend upwards in regards to vapor products with our youth population. You have to be 21 to use vapor products, so you know, in a perfect world, we want to see zero, right? But we have definitely seen a decline in use. And we have done different things in regards to enforcement, and with education, with collaboration, with community and school partnerships. And we've really seen that shift where we're seeing the moves in the directions that we want to go. We see that perception of risk going up, so the kids understand what the harms or consequences of the use may be. We've done education with parents for them to understand and that our kids think that their parents would be disappointed with them if they were to use that product. Same with their friend group. And then looking at how easy is it for them to get, knowing that there's consequences and that enforcement. That's why compliance is so important. Getting our businesses to be on board, not to sell to minors, to have that ID, different things like that. Because we know everybody has their purpose, has their businesses. We just want people to be compliant and lawful and safe. And so with that education, with that enforcement, we're seeing that trend use go down, which is a positive, knowing that all the different factors that come into play. I feel that we've done a good job addressing it, but we still have more work to do because there's always new products coming out, and it's hard for us to stay ahead of that. They find things out way before we do, and that makes it challenging for anyone who's involved with the youth, whether it's family, school, community, workforce, whatever that may be. When we look at alcohol use, we probably haven't done as much focus with that over the years because we just assume people know. But what this has helped us to look at is when we let things, when we don't address it or be consistent with our messaging, we start seeing shifts. But we've also seen different trends take place as well. So this helps us to look at the importance of us being consistent with our messaging to address all social issues that may be impacting our youth, and looking at more general things like decision-making skills, healthy coping skills, knowing how to say no matter what might be that instance, or what might be that substance, or what might be that high-risk behavior that they might be participating in. So when and where students use substances, in a nutshell, what we're seeing is typically students are using when they have the ability to gather, where there is little or no supervision and or rules, and typically with alcohol use, binge use on the weekends. We do want to highlight the least reported use is at school or during school hours. So it might be that assumption where, everything is going down at the school. That's not necessarily the case. It's in those unsupervised times, or when they know that they are in a large group setting. We also look at risk and protective factors, and with the risk factors, what this is telling us overall is that we are seeing a trend in regards of students hurting themselves or others. The gray line is our current of 2023, and then the yellow or gold is 2019. And we like to have that baseline of kind of that pre-COVID, post-COVID, so that we can kind of see how that has impacted. And overall, what this is showing us is that our students don't know how to handle conflict peacefully. We're seeing that they are being more physical when they are in contact with others, and so we need to emphasize the importance of that, and especially emphasizing if you see something, say something. And what we're also seeing with that trend is it's younger again. We're seeing more of these behaviors at a younger age, and so for us to be aware and doing that education, having the support of family and community to help addressing these issues. Again, this is looking at thoughts of suicide. We know mental wellness is a concern with our community, especially with our youth population, and is still something that we continue to address. Again, this graph just shows the reporting of our middle school, high school, and grades 7 through 12 overall. This is asking if they have seriously considered suicide in the last 12 months, and then if they've made a plan. And what we're seeing is still high rates, but we're seeing a decline with the thoughts, especially with making a plan, and that's the trend that we want to be seeing. But it's also concerns for us as well. And so the efforts that we've been doing the last few years with raising awareness that you need to be helping yourself, you need to be helping others, it's okay to ask for help. Do you know who those helping resources are in the community? We feel that has been reflective of that, but just giving that confidence and giving the access to resources is that focus, so that we can continue to have that trend going down. And then we look at the positives, the protective factors that we see. What protective factors do is instill that path into positivity, that what's going to kind of bring down those risk factors, what's going to make our students thrive and be successful. And looking at, are we talking to our kids? Is our messaging consistent? Are our kids engaged and involved? If they feel like they belong, they're going to be less likely to participate in these activities or these high-risk behaviors. And so the importance of of us seeing that trend taking place where we are seeing a little increase in regards to being involved in school and community activities. Is this where we want to be? No, we'd like to see it higher, but we're starting to shift into that positive way where we are seeing that increase in being involved and having that belonging, a sense of community. We've also seen a shift with them engaging more in their faith base, which is a positive as well. And our kids reporting that they make good grades. And that's their definition of what good grades are. We didn't label it in any capacity, but if they feel that they're making good grades, again, they feel that they're being successful and that they're thriving. What we've asked the last couple survey periods is if they are aware of the helping resources in the school and in the community. And the gray area is the 23, our most current, and the purple is 21. And we're seeing that shift in that direction of they are becoming more aware of those resources, especially with mental health and substance use, which that has been our priority over the last few years. And so the messaging that we've been doing has been impactful, and our kids are realizing what those helping resources are in both the school and in the community. We also like to find out from the students what they're doing in regards to making healthy choices. This question is kind of twofold. One is for us to identify what healthy choices they're doing. The other is for them to recognize what are some healthy choices that they could be doing. And so what we're seeing again is a shift of them becoming more involved, making, engaging in more healthy choices, but we still have efforts that we need to be addressing and looking at. But making it a norm, making that this is something that you do. If you're making healthy choices, you're going to be thriving. It's that positive messaging that we're looking at, and that the majority are doing these healthy things. We also ask the students why they feel teens choose not to use substances, and overwhelmingly, whether we want to believe it or not, they do report that they don't want to disappoint parents or adults. And we know that the number one deterrent for our kids is if they have a trusted adult in their life. And so even though we may get the eye rolls or they're not engaged with us or they're on their phones, things like that, always know that these adult plays that important role and can help with them making that decision of not using substances. And so for us to be that role model as well. They're also very conscious of, they know it's against the law, and so what are those consequences of that, and their goal setting. That's a big push that we focus on with our students. If they have goals, if they have something that they're working towards, they're less likely to participate in risk-taking behaviors. And this is our student responses overall. So it's right from them. Number one response is parents and guardians. Over 75% of students said that their parents or guardians influence them the most. 50% said their friends, and a quarter said their siblings, and closely behind that is their coaches and teachers. What we call social media is kind of that super peer. It does have influence. We know that, and it can be positive or negative. And so we really need to emphasize the importance of the people in their lives right here, right now, what is true, what is factual, and helping them to deter that, because it is very influential. Typically what adolescents hear or see for the first time, they believe that is the truth. And so that's what we have to be addressing when we look at social media. What are those influencers? What are those products that they're trying to get the students to engage in? And how do we kind of beat that information so that we can give them accurate and reliable information, because it is hard to sway that. I have a teenage daughter, and you know, if TikTok is promoting it, it must be a good thing. And so for us, for adults to catch up in those factors and understanding that influence, it's just a different time for our kids. There's a lot more challenges in regards to technology and social media and the influences that do exist. It's very overwhelming and overstimulating at times. And so as adults, we need to kind of take that step and that approach of we need to take the time to understand the culture and what those influences are, and to listen to our kids and to put those resources in front, but also to have those expectations and boundaries for our kids too, because that's really what they need. They need us to be those leaders. We need to be those positive role models so that they can make healthier choices and to be successful. Now, I went through this information really quickly, but is there any questions or comments at this time?
All right, thank you very much. I will open it up for questions and comments. Councilman Tupper.
I got a couple comments here, or maybe one question, one comment. Kelly, do you see a rise in legal THC, things like Delta 8 and things like that among teens?
We have, and especially in regards to the vape products that we see. You know, it was nicotine-based, and we've seen a real switch with the Deltas and the CBD and different things, products like that, that are legal for adult ages, so you have to be 21 or older. But they've marketed the products so that it's accessible for our kids, and we've really seen that. We've seen a decline with the nicotine vape products or the tobacco products, and an increase in regards to the Delta products, THC zero. I mean, they're coming up with all of these synthetic products, and that's the concerning piece of it. It's not the marijuana that maybe we grew up with, where the THC level, which is the mind-altering addictive substance or chemical in these products, where it used to be anywhere to range of 2% potency to maybe 20% potency. Now that it can be synthetically made and engineered, we're seeing products that are anywhere from 80 to 99% THC. So whatever our kids are ingesting is at a higher level, and so we're more concerned of that addictive rate. They become dependent on these products and things like that, and since they're not regulated, it's hard for us to know what is truly in the products that they're using. So that's the education that we're really trying to be productive with the adults in the community and with our youth, saying they're marketing these products to take advantage of you, and they're not natural. They don't come from earth because they're made in a lab. You don't find a gummy, you know, on the ground that you pick from a tree or anything like that. And really understanding the piece of it being because your body's still growing, your brain is still developing, these are going to impact you differently than it is for an adult. So it's a really hard conversation for us to be having, but it's something that we need to be doing because it is readily accessible. We have 8 vape shops in our community, and anyone can go into those businesses, and I would encourage people to do that, to see what those products are there and accessible and available to our kids, and they're very creative, and our kids are very creative in ways of getting those products. And so it's having those conversations because it's here, and so we need to know how to combat that and keep our kids safe.
Do you see a large increase in it, or?
We have been. It's just the different products shift and change so much where we are seeing more of that use, and just with the conversation in regards to like medical marijuana and more states having marijuana be recreational, it sends a lot of mixed messages to our youth. And so if we're not getting them that accurate information, they think it's a safe alternative or it's okay for them to use. And since they can purchase it, you know, online or different things like that, it's just more accessible, and we are seeing more of it being used, more than what we would like to be seeing.
Okay, just one comment then is I had the opportunity probably 20 plus years ago to work with you on a program. I believe it was with the Boys and Girls Club, and you've put your heart and soul the last, what'd you say, 25 years into this. You did a tremendous job for our youth, and I'd like to personally thank you. So
thank you. It takes everybody. I'm just kind of that squeaky wheel.
Councilman Shetty.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, thank you for your work on that. Quick question and one observation. Maybe I wrote it down wrong, but alcohol use went down from like 20% to 14% on
Yep.
the early chart. But then I noticed the arrests were up, like doubled from 27 to like 54. So I was just curious, is the enforcement helping the be less use, or you know, how honest are they on these surveys? Or just curious the difference in that number.
Absolutely. So what we're seeing is there is still a decline, so that is a positive. I think it is part of enforcement. We take it very seriously. We're trying to keep our kids safe. But also we know that those who are using at a higher level. So with the DUI arrests, we're seeing that their BAC levels are higher, and so that is concerning. So it might not be that those that are using at a higher rate than maybe in the past. And so that's that concerning piece of it. And like I said, the majority of our kids are not using, and that's what we want to see. But those who are using are making decisions that are putting them in a safety issue or safety concern. So, yeah,
Thank you, yes, for your work on this.
you bet.
All right. Any other comments or questions, council? All right, Mrs. Rumsa, thank you so much for
You
coming
bet.
in front of us again. We welcome you back.
Thank you.
So thank you very much, and thank you for all the work that you're doing in our community.
Thank you.
Now is the time for open forum. If there's anyone here who would like to address the council on an item that is not on tonight's agenda, now is your time to do so. I'll close the open forum. We'll move on to item 9A, an addendum to a banking services agreement with Reliabank. We'll go to our finance officer, Kristen Bobzien, for more information.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, before the council tonight is our banking service agreement that we have with Reliabank. We entered into this agreement in March of 2019. It had a 5-year, and then with the option to renew, we began discussions with Reliabank, and through those discussions, you'll see the addendum that's in front of you. It sets what the interest rate will be for the next year. This is just a 1-year extension with the option to do that again up to 4 more times. Like I said, we've worked with Reliabank. We've also included municipal utilities in this process as they currently bank with us. If there's any specific questions, myself, Josh, city manager, we can all try to help. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I don't need to open it up for public comments, but Josh Hogue, if you would like to say something, you sure can.
Yep. Josh Hogue, President of Reliabank. We just appreciate the relationship over the last 5 years. It's been a wild ride with the interest rates on this, but we're just here. We made enough concessions. We started negotiating early on in September, talking about this, and we felt that we could extend for another 5 years under similar terms and conditions. But we changing that rate that much, and then adding the 1-year negotiation phase, we felt like that warranted council's approval. But we appreciate it. The relationship's been really good. I think management has told me that. Hopefully they're telling you that too. So we really appreciate it, and we'd love to move forward.
All right, thank you very much. I will keep public comments open if there is anyone else who would like to talk on this item. Close up public comment. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the addendum. Motion made by Councilman Peters, seconded by Councilman Bueller. Let's open it up for questions and comments. Anything, council? All right, Councilman Schutte?
Just, I appreciate Ms. Bobzien's work on this. Always this is for the community as far as our finances and how the ledger looks, and working together with the bank there. I just appreciate your work doing this. You don't always get credit for all this.
All right, any other comments or questions? Hearing none, the motion is to approve the addendum. All those in favor will say aye, opposed say nay. Finance Officer Bobzien, please call the roll.
Okay. Helene?
Aye.
Jurens?
Aye.
Peters?
Aye.
Schutte?
Aye.
Tupper?
Aye.
Bueller? Danforth?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. Item B is an approval and authorization for the city manager to execute an agreement between the City of Watertown and First Premier Bank, pending review under the naming rights agreement between the City of Watertown and Prairie Lakes Health System. For more information, we'll go to our city manager, Mac.
Thank you, Mayor. This is an exciting item in front of you this evening as it relates to our ice arena. As the agenda item states, we are grateful for the $1 million contribution by First Premier Bank Card towards the construction of the Prairie Lakes Ice Arena. That contribution will come in 15 annual installments in the amount of $66,000 and some change. They do have some signage in the facility to highlight their contribution, and we are very grateful for them and their partnership. I will stand by for any questions. Attorney Carrico worked on the draft of the agreement. And we also have Mark Dunn here from First Premier Bank to speak to this or answer any questions you might have.
City Attorney Carrico, do you have anything to add?
Only one thing, Mayor, not to the specific of the agreement, but I think it should also be noted for council that First Premier also did a scoreboard sponsorship, a super anchor that council approved previously earlier in '23 for $75,000. So that is in addition to their donation that we were reviewing today.
Thank you very much. I will open up for public comments because I would like to listen to Mark Dunn tell us more about this.
Putting me on the spot here.
Are you the president of the local branch, or what would be your title?
I'm the market leader, VP market
okay.
leader of Northern Market here. So on behalf of First Premier and Premier Bank and Premier Bank Card, we're very excited. We'd like to thank you for allowing us to partner on this project. This ice arena is going to be huge for the city of Watertown, as you all know. At Premier, we pride ourselves in community involvement. So naturally, we were happy to step up and say yes when fundraising began nearly 3 years ago. We'll continue to support the city of Watertown through our monetary donations and our 4,000 plus volunteer hours served by our Watertown employees annually. So thank you for allowing us to be part of this project.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this item? Hearing none, the chair will close public hearing and open it up for a motion to approve for approval and authorization for the agreement.
So moved.
Motion made by Councilman Bueller, seconded by Councilman Schutte. Let's open it up for questions and comments, council. I'll actually start it off here. Mr. Dunn, I remember this was 3 years ago when I remember, because nobody at the WDC that was there that day when we met is there anymore. And it was right after I became mayor, and I remember meeting with you, Mr. Dykehouse, a few other people. Councilman Villauer at the time was there with us. And to have that support early on was instrumental in getting us the approval for the ice arena. If First Premier did not step on board early on with this very generous donation, I'm not sure if we would be here today where we are opening up a new facility at the end of the week, and it's beautiful. So the partnership that First Premier offers to the city, I mean, you've mentioned like the volunteer hours, but also the commitment that your bank makes to this city, we appreciate. And I just want you to know that I remember that meeting distinctly. It's a weird feeling to go ask for $1 million and have someone say yes.
So I think Mr. Dykehouse and the organization understand the economic impact that ice arena has. It does more than serve hockey needs, so you're going to see a lot of development around there, and it starts with someone, and I'm glad to be part of our organization that stepped up and said yes, get this thing going. So real excited to get it on the inside of this and see some hockey action here this weekend. So.
And I'll just also say personally, I know your commitment personally to this community was instrumental in making this happen as well, to convince everyone at your bank. So thank you.
Yeah, I'm a fan of this community.
Okay. That's what I like hearing. Any other questions, comments? Councilman Tupper.
Mine's just going to kind of shadow yours, and my wife actually works for Premier Bank Card, so I've got a lot of experience with your guys' company, and I look back at Premier Fields that you helped the city build, your newest endeavor with the school district. You guys have always been ready to stand up to the plate and support in the community, and you do in all the communities you are, no matter how big or how small the communities you are. So just my hat's off to First Premier Bank Card, Mr. Dykehouse, T. Denny for everything you did for the whole state of South Dakota, just not only Watertown, but we like it here better than anybody else. So
yes,
thank you, Mark.
Yeah, thank you. We've had a lot of great workers from Watertown, so Watertown's treated Premier well too. So.
All right, thank you. Councilman Bueller.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to point out also that when we built our softball complex, Premier Bank gave us $500,000 for that facility as well. And just can't thank you enough. I think it's awesome what you folks have done for the community.
Thanks.
We'll say naming rights for City Hall are open.
Yeah.
And street facility too. Councilman Jurens?
Talking with members of our community, business, non-business, hockey, non-hockey, basketball, football, doesn't matter where you're from. There's a lot of excitement surrounding all of the announcements that are coming up tonight and the other sponsors that joined in, and maybe some things to come forward later in our agenda. There's just a lot of excitement, hotels, motels, restaurants, and we don't always talk about the positive influence on so many different businesses. And when they're drawing people to pay taxes, then we living in the houses and just occupying our homes here don't have to pay that. So it's a big part of tourism for our city and tourism for our state, because there's going to be a lot of out-of-state people coming
Yeah,
out.
I mean, and I'll add to that, it's quality of life. So having amenities like this will keep employees here in Watertown and choose Watertown. So this is big on a number of levels. It was more than a ice complex that they're constructing. It, you know, is a great investment for the city of Watertown.
Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, the motion is to approve and authorize the agreement. All those in favor will say aye, opposed say nay. Finance Officer Bob Zine, please call the roll.
Pauline,
Aye.
Jurens,
Aye.
Peters.
Aye.
Shetty.
Aye.
Tupper.
Aye.
Bueller. Danforth.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Item C, thank you very much, Mr.
Out
Dunn.
on good behavior.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Item C is an approval and authorization for the city manager to execute an agreement between the City of Watertown and Watertown Ford Chrysler pending review under the naming rights agreement between the City of Watertown and Prairie Lakes Health System. City Manager Mack, tell us what this one's about.
Thank you, Mayor. As with the first one, this is another large donor to our ice arena. Watertown Ford Chrysler has committed $1 million. $500,000 of that is for the secondary rink, and $500,000 is for the Zamboni. You may also know that the vice president of Watertown Ford Chrysler is Jody Driscoll, who has invested significant time and resources in ensuring that this facility comes to fruition. So we are especially grateful for her and her work. This $1 million contribution will be paid over a 10-year period to the city. All signage, with the exception of the donor wall recognition, is being paid for by Watertown Ford Chrysler, as was First Premier, so that the city can utilize all of the donation towards development of the second rink and the purchase of the Zamboni. I will stand by for any questions you might have.
Thank you very much. City Attorney Carrico, do you have anything to add?
Similar to the previous one, I would also add that in addition to the $1 million, they also did a Super Anchor scoreboard sponsorship for an additional $75,000.
All right, thank you very much. We'll open it up for public hearing, even though I know Scott and Jody are not here tonight, but is there anyone who would like to speak on this? Close the public hearing. Just a minute, we got to take a motion first for us to speak. So Chair will entertain a motion to approve and authorize the agreement. Moved by Councilman Peters, seconded by Councilman Bueller. Just a second, let me make sure I write that down. We'll open it up for questions and comments. Councilman Tupper.
I don't know if anybody's seen the Zamboni, but God, I think I should be the first one to get to drive it. What do you think? No? It's already taken? Well, I mean, that is one sharp-looking Zamboni. I mean, it looks like a Bobcat, looks like a Bronco. I don't know which way to go, but just the opportunity to work for Scott and Jody at Watertown Ford Chrysler, that they've been just somewhat like Premier Bank. They've been great sponsors of the community and a lot of things over the years. So it makes me proud to be able to work with people like that. So that's what makes our community, is a lot of businesses like that and a lot of people like that. So just my hat's off to them. And I still want to drive the Zamboni. I don't have to be the first, so.
Got to take a class.
Any further questions or comments? I know I'd like to say something. I know, Scott, Jody, you're not here tonight, but I want to thank you for the countless of hours of work that you have put in Jody, thank you so much for heading up Build It Now. I also want to thank everyone else on that committee as well, because a lot of time was put in to raise the money that was pledged on behalf of the community, and that also was instrumental in making this ice arena a reality. So thank you so much. Jody, personal thank you. Councilman Tupper?
I have one more comment. I'll never forget sitting in with you and City Manager Mack talking about when this first came to fruition that they needed to raise $10 million. And somebody said Jody Driscoll was going to do it, and you guys had your doubts. And I know Jody well enough. Well, you had a little bit of doubt there, but whether or not she could do it, and I've worked with her enough times over fundraising campaigns on a lot of different things. And if anybody sets her mind to doing something, she does. And like I said, one thing that makes me proud, not only call him my boss, but my friend. So thank you.
All right. Any further questions, comments? Hearing none, the motion is to approve and authorize the agreement. All those in favor will say aye, opposed say nay. Finance Officer Bob Zine, please call the roll.
Okay. Helene?
Aye.
Jurgens?
Aye.
Peters?
Aye.
Shetty?
Aye.
Tupper?
Right.
Bueller? Danforth?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Item D is an approval of an amendment number 4 of a professional services agreement for the redesign, bidding, and construction services associated with the City Hall renovation project. City Manager Mack, take it away.
Thank you, Mayor. What you have in front of you is a contract amendment with TSP, the architect on the Wells Fargo renovation project. You may remember that after the facility was bid the first time, staff was directed to work with TSP on valued engineering with the bidder. That zeroed out our previous contract with TSP. This new contract covers the redesign services, of which have been completed. The bidding services, this will go out for bid, I believe, starting on Monday. And will also cover construction services once a bid is awarded. The funds will come from the City Hall project, which is the 505 account. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you very much. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the amendment.
So moved.
Motion made by Councilman Tupper. Need a second. Second. Thank you, Councilman Danforth. Let's open it up for comments and question. Council? Councilman Danforth?
Ms. Mack, what the assumption is that bids will come back at an acceptable level, right? That we would choose as a body to move forward. What if that doesn't happen as it relates to this number? Because part of this is the contract, the construction services.
Yep.
What happens in the event that
We
that-
would not pay the construction services
and that's
portion.
broke out?
Correct. Yeah, it's $24,700.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Any further questions, comments? I'm just going to make a comment just so that people know that it's not, there are differences of opinion as to where City Hall goes, and I'm one of those that question Wells Fargo as a location, but we need to go down this road so that we can find out what the cost is going to be. So I will vote for this because maybe the bids come back in, they're good, and we can move forward with this and take that off our plate. But we have to find out more information. So I will be voting for this in favor of this, even though I just want to say I have reservations, but we got to find out more information in order to have a thoroughly vetted vote. Councilman Peters?
Just to get my head around total costs, so if we don't move forward with the Wells Fargo building, the sunk costs would be the $387,712 minus the $24,000. So that's what we have into it in architecture
Correct.
costs right now. Okay. All right,
Yes.
thanks.
Councilman Jurgens?
Being new on the council, not seeing a lot of numbers like this in my past for projects like this one. I'm sure members of our community, it's kind of a sick number, but I sure hope we can use this. I mean, I will be in favor of it also tonight, but wow, big numbers for design. Over and out.
Thank you. City Manager Mack?
Thank you. I appreciate the comment, Councilman Jurgens. Just for clarity, the $298,000 was design, it was also bidding services for the last time that it was bid. So just to break that out.
Any further comments, questions? Hearing none, the motion is to approve the amendment. All those in favor will say aye, opposed say nay. Motion carries. Finance Officer Bob Zine, please call the roll.
Okay, here we go. Pauline,
Aye.
Jurens,
Aye.
Peters,
Aye.
Shetty,
Aye.
Tupper,
Aye.
Bueller, Danforth.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Now the motion carries. Item E is a rejection of the sole bid for the Prairie Lakes Wellness Center rooftop units replacement from Johnson Controls in the amount of roughly $1.5 million. City Manager Mack?
Thank you, Mayor. You may recall that during the 2024 budget discussions, staff brought forward the replacement of the rooftop units at the Wellness Center to be completed in 2025. It's in the long-term capital plan. In order to accomplish that, work needs to be done in 2024 to order the units and such, which we advised council of during the discussions. We pursued replacement of the units by bid advertising. One bid was received, which was about 45% higher than previous estimates that were given by the sole bidder. One of the challenges with this replacement issue is there seems to be a lot of speculation on what the issues are so that we're not replicating them in the future. The next action in front of you is a separate agreement with Johnson Controls to study and develop a schematic design package which will help provide more clarity to potential bidders on this project. Also, during the budget conversation, we estimated a $1.1 million cost. It's anticipated that a potential $500,000 in additional funding could be necessary pending the study and preliminary design outcomes. I will attempt to answer any questions you have. Our Park and Rec Director is here, as well as our city engineer.
Park and Rec Director, would you like to add anything? You don't have to. All right, but please be on hold for possible questions. Chair will entertain a motion to reject the bid. Motion made by Councilman Shetty, seconded by Councilman Bueller. Let's open it up for questions, comments. Councilman Danforth.
Just so, point of clarification, I don't know if the public will have read the document that supports this, but the introduction says that it's replacing the rooftop units, which is correct, but it's rooftop units in the aquatics area, not the full facility, correct?
Correct.
Okay, just so everybody knows that.
Thank you.
I went through this actually yesterday and today a little bit, and I'm a little confused. I just want to ask for some clarification. When we went out to bid, it was for design and construct services, of which we got the $1.592 million bid. The new one, what we're rejecting here and what will ultimately be proposed to go back out for, is for them to design and construct. How does it differ from what we asked for in the first place? Because they're actually suggesting in the document we've got that the cost is going to be comparable to what we've just received. So how does, when we ask them to do design, construct, and we got a high price, now we're going to go out and ask them to do design and construct for approximately the same estimated price? What's the difference between what we asked them to do in the original bidding process versus what our expectation is of them now?
Hopefully I can help answer that where it's understandable. Essentially, because I simply asked the question, how come this was substantially higher? One of the answers was inflationary costs. The other was the way this was originally advertised, because we had other interested parties, was the design and construct. The challenge with that is they did not have the design completed, so therefore could not be as specific on the mechanical units that were going to be, actually installed on the roof. So there's a number of different mechanical units out there that they could have chose from. So by structuring it this way, they said, we're not 100% sure which unit we need to go up there. So their number came in higher than I'm anticipating it will after a design is complete. Does that make any sense? That's the best way I think I can explain it.
The floor is still yours, Councilman.
Well, my first comment is that we want to make darn sure that what we do here, we do it right. And that's important. So I'll say that I understand your explanation and see what they come back with. We'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Any further questions? Councilman Shetty.
Thank you, Mayor. So would we foresee more people bidding on the project if we get this particular little caveat taken care of?
The way that I believe we're potentially structuring it now is there may be the opportunity to purchase some of the mechanical equipment through Sourcewell, depending on what the design comes back. So yeah, at that point, it might make the most sense to just purchase that through Sourcewell, and then Johnson Control or a sub would potentially do the install.
Councilman Beeler?
Thank you, Mayor. Dusty, perhaps you could fill me in a little bit about what they're talking about when we talk about design. I would assume there was a design to begin with. Can you fill us in on what that entails, design?
It would be relooking at the space, because obviously there was a design initially, and there's some piece of that that didn't work. Is either the design may have been adequate, but the mechanical unit was a lemon, or there's some challenges with the current design in that space. In some conversations with others, they've identified some challenges with that space. We're trying to use these rooftop units to dehumidify and circulate that air, or some of those aren't designed to also take on that with the hot tub, the way that is all one airspace. Those are fairly specific and generate a lot more humidity than some of the other pool areas.
Follow-up?
Yeah, if I could, Mayor, follow-up question. Also, Dusty, the design portion of the cost, do you know what percentage or how much that is? Did they break that out?
I believe that's the next item on the agenda.
Okay, the $25,000?
Correct.
That's the design out of that number.
That's,
comes away from
that's my understanding.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Peters?
Yeah, quick question, Dusty. We got one bid back for this. I would consider this somewhat specialized. What's our geographical reach when we're reaching out to people to bid on this? I mean, I'm shocked we got one bid back for this.
We had actually some potential bidders, like a half a dozen or so, contact us that ultimately chose not to submit a proposal. So the net was thrown fairly significantly, within in the region.
Well, what's the reach though? Like, how far out? Are we getting people from the cities? Are we getting, okay.
Yeah, I was going to say these type of projects go on a public notice that any contractor that in that business would have an opportunity to see.
Okay, thank you.
Would any councilman like to speak before Councilman Danforth speaks this a second time? Councilman Tupper.
Just one thing, when bids go out like that, you get your major contractors that are around the area that are signed up for bids like that through the city's website. I used to do it all the time with vehicle sales. I did vehicle sales in 20 different communities in the state of South Dakota. I believe that most of your major contractors are looking at cities' websites all the time for bids that go out, so.
Correct.
Councilman Danforth?
Dusty, do you know, I was going to actually make a call on this today, and I forgot, or didn't get to it. I'll say I didn't get to it. I didn't, not forget. But who did the original design work? I mean, the architect was JLG, and then that engineering, there was an enormous amount of time spent on the whole pool scenario. In fact, we made a number of trips looking at facilities and understanding what their issues were and how they did. Who did the engineering on it originally?
I don't recall the name of of that design team. I know it's in that document. I just don't. I don't.
there a way that
haven't
you could-
committed to memory.
I can either get a hold of JLG and ask. I mean, I sure hope it's not Johnson Controls.
No,
I mean-
it was not. It was a separate private firm.
Okay.
So I could get you that information. I just don't have it
Yeah.
up here right now.
Well, if it's available to you, again, I'm not telling you to do this. I would ask you to if you could, let me know if you would. That I appreciate that. Thank you.
Councilman Beeler.
Thanks again, Mayor. Did we ask the question why folks declined to bid this? Do we know why they decided they didn't want to bid it? Be interesting to know why they pulled away from that.
Any further questions or comments? Councilman Tupper?
Maybe part of that was we'll answer that with the next item on the agenda, because maybe there was not enough information in the original bid packet. So hopefully that will create enough information for more people to bid.
Questions or comments, council? Hearing none, the motion is to reject the bid. All those in favor of rejecting the bid will say aye. Opposed, say nay. Finance Officer Bob Zine?
Okay. Pauline?
Aye.
Jurgens?
Aye.
Peters?
Aye.
Shetty?
Aye.
Tupper?
Aye.
Bueller? Danforth?
All right.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Item F is an approval of the professional services agreement for the Prairie Lakes Wellness Center rooftop units replacement to Johnson Controls in the amount of $25,000. City Manager Mack.
Thank you, Mayor. As discussed, this is a contract with Johnson Controls to study and develop a schematic design, also completion of a preliminary design review to assist in developing a construction schedule and installation price for rooftop units above the pool at the Prairie Lakes Wellness Center. I'll stand by for any questions.
Thank you. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the agreement. Motion made by Councilman Tupper, seconded by Councilman Shetty. Open it up for questions and comments. Hearing none, the motion is to approve the agreement. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. And just for everyone in the audience, if there's no conversation, if there's no questions regarding an item, I feel confident in just doing a voice vote. So normally we'll do a roll call vote, but okay. City Manager Mack?
Thank you. To Councilman Danforth's question, Pete's, I think is how you say it, construction was involved, as well as West Plains Engineering. Pitts, thank you. Yes.
All right, thank you very much. Flipping around the schedule, as I announced at the beginning of the meeting, we will move to item 11A, an approval of resolution number 24-03, necessity for sidewalk improvements along 12th Avenue Northwest from 6th Street Northwest to 1st Street Northwest with the 2024 Neighborhood Street Reconstruction Project, project number 2403. City Manager Mack.
Thank you, Mayor. What you have in front of you this evening is a proposed resolution of necessity for a sidewalk assessment program that is for the 2024 Neighborhood Street Reconstruction Project on 12th Avenue Northwest, which runs from 6th Street Northwest to 1st Street Northwest. This project was accounted for in the 2024 budget and will include full depth grading with asphalt surfacing, curb and gutter, sidewalk, and water main installation. A resolution of necessity, a proposed resolution of necessity is the first legal action that this body takes to inform affected property owners of the intent to move forward with an assessment project. Currently, a majority of this road doesn't have sidewalk. In compliance with our city ordinances requiring sidewalk for new construction, our adopted 2007 transition plan for sidewalk accessibility, and the 2021 master transportation plan, we find it necessary to install ADA compliant curb ramps and sidewalk on both sides of the road to improve accessibility, connectivity, and safety for pedestrians. Landowners adjacent to 12th Avenue will be assessed the cost for the new sidewalk along their property based on the linear feet installed per South Dakota Codified Law 946-2.1. For context, the 2007 transition plan was a result of litigation against the city to formalize how we improve ADA accessibility and pedestrian connectivity throughout town. The funding for the city's portion of this project has been budgeted in the estimated amount of $76,360. The estimated cost for the adjacent landowners is based on engineering cost estimates, which equate to $52.90 per linear foot. The city's sidewalk cost participation program reduces the homeowner's responsibility by $20 per linear foot, resulting in the landowner's total estimated cost of $32.90 per linear foot. The final cost will be assessed based on the actual as-constructed costs under the awarded bid. This project is currently out for bid. Bids are due back on February 28th. We recommend approval of the resolution, and I and our city engineer, Justin Peterson, largely Justin, will stand by for any questions you might have.
Thank you very much. Chair will open a public hearing. I will allow anyone to speak on this. Just a second, Mr. Mullen. I'm going to ask for proponents first, even though I don't think there is one. Okay. That's just according to Robert's rules. So Mr. Mullen, and I will acknowledge that Mr. Mullen stopped off at City Hall late last week and dropped off a petition that had a lot of names on it. I have passed it out both ways to the council so that they could see it, as I said I would. And so you can, I just wanted to acknowledge that and take it away, Mr. Mullen.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Before we get into the responses or the conversations I had with people when I was doing this petition, I need to talk about my voice. Okay, I have a physical condition called essential tremor. It usually shows up in your 40s. I've had it since kindergarten. It gets worse as you get older. And obviously now my voice is finally changing again. Okay, so bear with my voice. Could I get a show of hands back here just to reinforce what the mayor asked? How many people are against sidewalks? Could we see? Thank you. When I went around, there are 70% of the homeowners that signed the petition against. Okay, the other 30% I wasn't able to contact. Either it was a rental, was owned by the county, or in one case it was a city employee, and I didn't want to put them on the spot. Cost was an issue. It was not the only, nor I think, was it the main issue. Some of the issues that came up, or some of the things that I was told, okay, that the neighborhoods when they were built in the 50s and 60s were not designed for sidewalks. Another issue that came up was that people would not be able to park on their driveway, leave their car on their driveway because of the sidewalk. The trees that would be lost. Sidewalk would be too close to my home. The property line, there's at least one block there where the property line goes up to the asphalt. So either the city's going to have to buy the land, do eminent domain, or narrow the street and put the sidewalk in what is the existing street. Nobody liked either of those ideas. The sidewalk crossing driveways being at an angle is difficult for people to use. Another one was that more hard surfaces will cause more runoff in our neighborhood. And currently we do have runoff issues. One person talked to me to a great extent about how it was that having sidewalks put right next to the road will cause the street department to pile the snow in the road, not on the sidewalks, which will increase the drainage issues because when spring comes, the curb and gutter is blocked and it doesn't drain. Just personal experience with that. I had 2 years ago, the water, once everything started melting, our gutter was blocked. And the water actually came up to the door of my driveway. My driveway is long enough to park 2 vehicles on, large vehicles. So, there were some other comments. When the other end of 12th Avenue was done, there are 2 schools there. Sidewalks weren't put in. And then this one I don't know about, but 7th Avenue was redone. And again, no sidewalks. I'm done. Questions from me?
We'll hold off on questions until the end. I am going to ask one question to City Manager Mack, because you mentioned runoff, and is this the area that the city is planning on a major renovation for water drainage? Storm sewer?
I don't believe that there's a significant amount of storm sewer that's part of this project. There is a plan.
Part of this project, but a separate project.
I cannot answer that question. I'd defer to our city engineer, Justin Peterson.
Yeah, I'm just going to wait till the end then. I just wanted to get that question on the record, so we'll circle back to it. Any further opposition? Yeah, just please come on forward and I ask you, just please be unique. I assume that everyone here who is in opposition to it would agree to any of the comments that were previously made. If you have anything to add to that, by all means, come on forward.
Mayor, excuse me. I'm married. My wife just corrected me and told me I'm spoken correctly. The water came up to the door of our garage, up the driveway.
Just please identify yourself.
My name's Chris Moretz. I live on the corner of Crestview and 12th, if that matters. I know 2 years ago we redid 10th Avenue, super high, busy traffic street. We chose to put one sidewalk up and down 10th Avenue. I don't take the time to count the pedestrian traffic down 12th, but it's got to be in the 5-6 people a day with their 4 or 5 dogs. I think maybe 2 sidewalks is a little excessive. I don't think we have that kind of pedestrian traffic up and down there. And even if we did, they don't connect to anything else. 6th has no sidewalks. Skyline has no sidewalks. Crestview, no sidewalks. Those of you who live other places, maybe you know. I don't think Karen does, 4th does. We're going to spend a lot of money out of our pockets to put sidewalks in that go nowhere, that very few, if anyone, will use. Have we considered other options? I love sidewalks. I put them in at my old house down on 2nd Street. But I want to be smart about it. They cost a lot of money. Have we considered maybe giving us the opportunity to go get competing bids and do it ourselves? I personally have the skill and ability to do them myself. Doesn't cost me $31 a linear foot or whatever the number was. I know many concrete contractors in town that can probably beat that number. I don't know if they're bidding this job, but they're doing it for the city of Watertown. Maybe their price goes up. I don't know how they work, okay? Can you give us 5 or 10 years and we'll each do it individually as an option? Or do we have no choice? It will be done this year and it will be added to our tax bill. Or we get the opportunity to write you a check to reimburse you. I don't know how much extra thought was put into this. Trees, I can't speak to everyone. I haven't seen the whole project. I have 5 trees that'll be within 6 or 12 inches of the new sidewalk. They're evergreens, they're shallow roots. We will cut half the roots out of those trees. They're on the map not to be removed. What if we kill them, putting in the sidewalks? Do I get to pay the $5,000 to remove the trees next year after they die? Or are you gonna come back and remove them because you killed them putting in my sidewalk? Just questions I have. This gets very spendy. I live on the corner. I get to buy sidewalk for Crestview when the project comes up for Crestview. I know that's not everyone's issue, but it is mine. So, hopefully any of that helps you.
Thank you.
All right.
Any further opposition? Come on forward.
Good evening. My name is Jim Mischke. I live one house west of the Little Jog. Lived there 37 years. And there's probably a dozen people use the sidewalk that's across the street, which is a block and a half long. There hasn't been many people use it. And it's so nice to walk down the middle of the street because it's a nice, quiet street. Plenty of room for people to both drive and be pedestrians. I understand that things need to be done sometimes. Right now, as you probably know, there's 18 blocks, 9 blocks on both sides. There are 2 blocks of sidewalk there which don't connect to anything. So I just feel that it wouldn't be a good idea to put this in because there's nobody's going to use them. None of the joggers, none of the people that live in the community that walk their dogs every day or twice a day use the sidewalk. Mainly it's been the little kids that learning how to ride a bicycle on First and Mayfair. So I just wanted to add that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any further opponents?
Good evening. I'm Jill Fox. I live on 1165 Sunset Street. My issue for mine and my husband, I guess, is we were told that the street was going to be narrowed and so that it would even up, going all the way up the hill, all the way up to First. And I guess my issue is kind of like why. I'm not understanding. I mean, we already have a nice curb and gutter. In the 20 years that we've lived there, we've had cars end up in our grass because they come sliding down the hill. And so now we're narrowing it. And so I'm feeling like, okay, we've got more issues going there. We're told that we need to put another sidewalk in going down the hill, where from Skyline all the way down, we've watched skateboarders come down. And so I look at it as, okay, now it's going to be my liability because they're going to go onto my sidewalk. And so I'm trying to kind of figure out why we would have to narrow our street in that area. It evens up right where Sunset is the same width, but this is what we were told. The other issue, I guess, going up the hill, just to kind of talk with these guys up here is, I'm just kind of curious, like here on 10th Avenue, we had that project where we widened the road, and now we're doing almost the exact opposite. We're narrowing the road. And like even today, I just drove all the way to First just to see, and in that time, at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, there's 7 vehicles in the street. So now we're going to narrow it, and then I'm just feeling like in 2 years, when will we see the sign that comes up saying, no parking on this side of the road? Because we have issues with that. If you go by, there's quite a few single garages. So if anybody has another car, they're going to park it in the driveway or they're going to park in the street. So I guess I was kind of hoping maybe we'd have some direction tonight on like those kind of issues. And one other thing. I lived on 2nd Street, grew up on 2nd Street. I've lived on Skyline all my life. And in all that time, we've always had sidewalks going from Millette School all the way down to 14th Avenue. And we've got this beautiful bike path. And so when I go walking around the neighborhood, in the majority of the time, we end up in the street. And I feel like this is going to happen. We're still going to put those sidewalks in, but going down that hill, people are still going to go into the street. And we've wasted this money, which part of me wonders, are we using this money because, and maybe you can answer this too, is it because is it federal money that is requiring us to use, put sidewalks in because it's federal money, it's a requirement? Or is it just because we really are looking at it as, we're enriching the Northwest area? So.
Any further opposition?
I'm Leroy Bullis. I live on the intersection of 12th Avenue and Karen Street. Something I had not heard of until now, the narrowing of the street, 12th Avenue, is that happening?
We'll ask that once all testimony is done.
Okay. 12 years ago, I built a new garage. I was told that my garage had to be 32 feet from the curb line. At that time, I did all the preparation for the soil preparation for the garage and the driveway. And I built my garage with a very minimal slope. I find it very hard to get in and out of a vehicle when the front end of your vehicle is high. I ran that out to within like 10 foot of the curb line, and then I have a steep slope. And I'm wondering how the transition is going to take place from that point to the sidewalk, because I assume the sidewalk's going to be flat, and I'm going to end up with a lot of garage removed, or a lot of driveway removed, and I'm just wondering how that's going to transition to that sidewalk. I had another question on my mind, and it's slipping my mind right now. I'm trying to think of what that is. Oh, yes. There was mention of the 10th Avenue project. Are we going to be dealing with and responsible for all the weed seed that was planted on 10th Avenue? Because it is absolutely, totally ridiculous. There is no grass in some of that area. It is all weeds. Who's responsible for that? I should hope that we don't have to deal with that. I don't know where the soil come from. I'm assuming it came from the landfill. And I've heard comment after comment after comment about that soil that comes from the landfill is solid weed seed. And it would almost look like no grass was planted in the area I'm talking about. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of the people here have seen that. I'm sure you've seen it. Do we have to deal with that? Okay.
Any further opposition? I will say, just make sure that your comments are unique.
I hope so. There's no boulevards on 12th, so the grass shouldn't be an issue. Jan Mullen, as somebody who's disabled some and able to walk, if I walk on the sidewalks where the sidewalk is right at the street, every driveway dips down, so with a walker or a child on a bike, or we have a friend that lives the next street over who rides a scooter, he can't ride on the sidewalks. Even if the sidewalk is wide, it's still going to dip down. And then with the snow plowing, if they add that to the street, it will again narrow the street because they very kindly don't put the snow on the sidewalk. It's in the street, and the street gets a little narrower. We've seen that a lot in that whole area, so thank you.
Any further opposition?
My name is Kara Herr. I'm at the corner of 4th and 12th. And we've got a sprinkler system at our house, and there's 4 sprinkler heads right there at the side of the boulevard that will be coming out. So I just want to know, is that our responsibility that when they have to go back in, do we have to pay for that, or is that included in being put back? So.
Thank you. Any further opposition?
My name is Lori Kessler. My husband's out of town, so here I am. I was going to bring up the sprinkler head system also, so thank you, Kara. The other thing was, I live on the corner of Skyline and 12th. We have landscape edging that will have to be removed along with the big evergreen. I'm all for sidewalks, especially in established neighborhoods that have a school nearby for our children to walk safely. But we have no children up in that area that do walk to any schools because they're not close enough. So, and then the other question I was supposed to ask is, if we add this on to our taxes over 10 years, right, will there be interest involved in that? Thank you.
Any further opposition? All right, I will close public hearing. I am going to start asking some of the questions that I wrote down during the testimony. We'll start with the runoff question from Mr. Mullen.
Thank you, Mayor. Boulevards will be installed as part of the project. I can't speak to specific runoff matters. Justin may be able to. The 30. Anyway, we'll let Justin answer that specific question about runoff. But yes, boulevards, there will be a boulevard between the curb and the sidewalk that's installed.
City Engineer Peterson.
There'll be, so what was your question again?
It was regard to runoff,
Right.
because there was the testimony that the water is basically backing up to the houses and it's not flowing, and so it would cause more of a problem.
The, well, there will be a boulevard which will help with the snow collection on the boulevard. The roadway will have a curb, larger curb and gutter. Right now, it's kind of a straight back curb, so there's not a lot of water that stays in the street, or as much as there will be with a pole curb. So the drainage will be handled in the street with the curb.
Okay, and you might as well just stay up here, Engineer Peterson. So another question that was asked, Mr. Mullen, was in regards to this being very, very close to the homes or to the structures. There was one question regarding asphalt and that it would be very close to the structure. I think it was the home. And how does that play out? Because if it's really close, is that part of the city's boulevard then, or is that on pure private property? How does that work out?
The sidewalks will be placed 4 inches from the property line. So the homes have a setback from the property line, so that setback will remain the same. And so all the construction will be in the right of way. Is that
Okay. Let's see. Question about snow removal. Will this pile snow either on the sidewalk cause problems? Otherwise, the question I think was if the sidewalk was right next to the road and when you plow, if the snow was going to come up and then you have more to shovel.
right?
Well, Mr. Mullen, what was the question then?
It was that if the snow would pile in the gutter, because the street crew's real good, they don't plow it onto the sidewalks. They currently plow where there are sidewalks, they plow it to the gutter in the streets. So you've got a pile, 3 feet of snow that's in the street.
I can maybe speak to
It blocks the gutter. It blocks, come springtime, the water flowing down.
Oh, if it would block the gutter, okay. And the reason why I ask is because there are neighborhoods in town where our street crew piles snow on the sidewalk and that person is responsible for shoveling. And they don't like that. And I'm just saying, it's like there's a lot of different neighborhoods in town that have unique difficulties based on their area. And there are some places with sidewalks right against the road and they just come by and plow and it just goes on the sidewalk and people don't like that. But so will it block the gutter?
I can speak a little bit to just snow removal. I would liken it to perhaps 19th through town where there are very small boulevards. And so they plow the snow and then the street crew comes back and moves that snow out of the gutters. They do their best not to get it on the sidewalks because it is a pain. Sometimes that happens, but we do have procedures in place to help minimize any snow going onto the sidewalks or blocking storm drains because we need the water to drain as well.
All right. There was a question asked by, I think, Mr. Marotz. Essentially, I wrote it down as, is this the equivalent of a bridge to nowhere? Are these sidewalks, will they connect to anything? Do these other roads adjacent to this not have sidewalks, and therefore will these sidewalks be the connectivity to other neighborhoods? City Manager Mack?
I can try, and then our city engineer can jump in. So this project is being driven by the need to reconstruct the road. And so the city's policy, at least since 2007, has been that when a road reconstruct is happening, if there are infill sidewalks that need to occur, that's when they occur, rather than going back later and installing sidewalks at another point in time. There's an economy of scale with the cost of the project. So it may seem like they're leading to nowhere, but at least based off of previous policy, the goal of the city has been to infill properties with sidewalks to create connectivity throughout the entire community. That's a pretty lofty goal, but as we continue to move forward with reconstruct projects, that's what we do. We are legally obligated by federal law at a minimum to install brand new curb ramps, ADA curb ramps, and that looks a little silly to have ramps that lead onto no sidewalks at all, and frankly does not aid in the accessibility that we're trying to accomplish. I'll let you continue with your questions, and if Justin has anything else to add to that, please do.
Okay. There was a question Mr. Marotz had. Can they take competing bids? Can they